In a dystopian alternate reality, excessive consumption and improper junk removal have rendered the Earth an uninhabitable wasteland. Due to the extreme weather, all plant species have disappeared, and all water sources have dried up. The planet is now unusable for humans due to the massive amount of non-degradable waste that it contains. Everyone leaves the dying planet due to these dire circumstances, and they board the enormous mothership known as the Axiom. Since it is home to every human in space, the Axiom is dependable and durable. Beaches, spas, and an abundance of food are among the basic and opulent amenities that the enormous aircraft offers. The humans leave behind a robot army to dispose of the waste that has accumulated while they are gone. These robots start their demanding clearing job and continue for years. After many centuries, the majority of the machines stop working, and only Wall-E is left. Wall-E keeps up with his task over time and carefully bundles the pilling waste for disposal. He finds a friendly cockroach one evening after a busy workday and brings it to his shelter. The cyborg finds interest in the shelter's disorganized dump of numerous robotic spare parts and unusual items. He loads a tape onto his media player when he gets home and watches the movie on TV. Wall-E sees a human couple holding hands and envies them, wishing he had a partner. A short while later, Wall-E becomes preoccupied after he notices an impending sandstorm. He quickly packs up and closes his shelter before going to bed. The robot finds a budding plant while out collecting trash the following day, which causes him to become distracted. Since this is the first plant the planet has had in centuries, Wall-E is astounded to see the seedling. He carefully takes the bud in his hand and quickly puts it back in his shelter. He notices a moving red light there and is enthralled by the thing. Wall-E pursues it and eventually finds himself in a desert as an unidentified spaceship touches down. The aircraft returns to its original location, drops off a strange-looking pod, and then quickly takes off into the sky. Wall-E is startled to see a fellow robot named Eve emerge from the pod as he suspiciously watches it. Eve is a stylish robot with a modern, elegant exterior, and Wall-E falls in love with her right away. The new robot is combative and reacts angrily by firing laser blasts at inanimate objects. Wall-E, however, is enthralled and follows her from a distance. He observes her throughout the day and quickly discerns that she is looking for something. Even after spotting and scanning numerous items, Eve is unable to locate the item she is looking for. Wall-E is curious and decides to approach Eve to inquire about her search. Eve engages in conversation with him, but is adamant about keeping her mission a secret. Wall-E is disappointed but respects her boundaries, and they quickly change the subject to move the conversation along. A sandstorm suddenly appears minutes later and hits the robots. Eve becomes lost right away, but fortunately, Wall-E guides her to his shelter. He shows her his collection of gathered items there. He presents her with a bubble wrapper, a light bulb, and a Rubik's Cube while astonished at the robot with each one. The two even dance for a while watching a movie on his media player. Then he proceeds to show her his new seedling. As soon as Eve uses her sensor to quickly scan the plant, her radar turns green, showing that she has been looking for a plant the entire time. She takes the seedling back and switches to standby mode while broadcasting a signal into space. To the dismay of the Earth robot, Wall-E makes numerous attempts to revive her without success. The next day, he leaves Eve at the shelter and goes to work. A few hours later, Wall-E feels the ground shake and recognizes the plane that had earlier landed at his house. He rushes to it and watches as a dormant Eve is taken aboard and kept in a pod with other robots of a similar shape. Before takeoff, Wall-E says goodbye to his pet cockroach and clings to the plane. The craft takes off into space after bursting through the atmosphere. Wall-E is confused by the unfamiliar surroundings as he drifts away from the ship. Fortunately, the robot regains control and tightly holds on as the ship zooms past the moon and stars. It eventually arrives at and enters the Axiom, the mothership where humans have spent many years. While Eve and the other bots are being examined, the aircraft parks in a waiting area and offloads them. The bots are scanned by a machine, which finds Eve's cabinet contains a plant specimen. It triggers an alarm, forcing a gang of cyborgs to hastily remove her from the space. Wall-E finds himself in a corridor full of machines after following them. He moves past them and soon sees a group of people. Wall-E is immediately astounded by their chubby build and quickly learns about their new way of life. It turns out that because of robots' complete assistance, humans can no longer work or carry out basic tasks on their own. They do not eat any vegetables or healthy foods. They only consume sugary drinks. Their anatomy has completely changed as a result of their sedentary lifestyle, unhealthy diet, and the absence of gravity in space. The average person today is obese and has very little bone mass and density. Wall-E closely pursues Eve and meets two people along the way that he befriends. He finally sees Eve being led into the ship's command center and quickly follows her. There, McCree, the captain of the Axiom, performs a daily check on the plane with the assistance of Otto, the robotic wheel of the ship. Following a thorough system check, McCree gives a speech to the entire ship via a number of projected screens from his office. The captain declares that it has been precisely 700 years since people left Earth. He congratulates the passengers for making it this far, despite the fact that many generations have come and gone since then. Otto alerts McCree to Eve's presence and says she has returned with a seedling before McCree can finish his speech. The announcement baffles the captain because no robot has ever brought a plant back from Earth. He consults his automated manual, which immediately starts up an old film discussing this specific circumstance. A man suddenly appears on the screen and explains that the recovery of a plant from Earth suggests that the planet has become habitable. As a result, he gives the captain the order to place the seedling inside a holodetector, which would immediately direct the ship back toward land. Eve awakens a short while later and sees Wall-E. She quickly hides her Earth friend in a corner after being startled to see him on the Axis. McCree gives the go-ahead for the ship's AI to get the seedling from Eve in the interim. They are shocked to discover it empty after the cyborg quickly opens her cabinet. In light of this, McCree surmises that Eve's program is flawed and orders the sending of Eve to the diagnostic facility. Wall-E approaches the captain and shakes him as she departs. A large amount of dirt is found in McCree's hand as he examines it in detail. When he notices this, he sends Eve and Wall-E to the diagnostic facility. McCree analyzes the dirt after the bots have left and finds that it is from Earth. He becomes enthralled by it and falls down a rabbit hole of world-related research. The captain eventually becomes enthralled by his discoveries and makes a promise to head back home. The Earth robot and Eve finally reach the center in the scene that follows. While Eve is being transported to a repair ward, Wall-E is being held in a cell for malfunctioning robots. She receives excellent care, but Wall-E misinterprets her restorations as torture and rushes in to save her. While doing this, he fires an energy blast that destroys the controls and frees all the defective equipment. The two are immediately pursued by the other machines after this action marks them as rogue bots. Even though Eve is furious with Wall-E for being a bother, she manages to protect him from the pursuing cyborgs. She eventually leads him to an exit room where she places him in an escape pod that will take him back to Earth. They hear a cyborg approaching, though, just as the pod is about to take off, so they quickly hide to avoid being discovered. The moment the aircraft is set to self-destruct, they witness Otto's gun go for hiding the missing plant in the pod. Wall-E rushes into the pod as soon as he exits to get the plant for Eve, but he gets stuck and is launched into space. Soon after, the self-destruct countdown starts, and Wall-E panics as he desperately presses the ship's buttons in vain. Eve, in the meantime, hurries into an emergency escape pod and pursues him. She stops in shock as soon as she sees the pod blow up because she thinks Wall-E and the plant are no longer there. Devastated, Eve rushes to the blast to locate their remains, but she is shocked to see Wall-E still alive. The recovered seedling is displayed when the Earth robot opens his cabinet, which he then hands to her. Eve is overjoyed to see the plant and quickly goes to get it while giving Wall-E a thank you hug. The couple butts heads, creating a spark that knocks the Earth robot unconscious and causes him to swoon. Soon after regaining his composure, Wall-E leads the pair back into the Axiom as they run for cover from two police robots looking for them. As Eve rushes into McCrea's room, she hides the Earth robot with some paper towels before leaving him behind. When she hands him the recovered seedling, the captain is ecstatic to see her. McCrea initially instructs Otto to insert the plant into the holodetector, but he later changes his mind and opts to carry out the action himself. He approaches it, but Otto stops him and tries to take the plant. McCrea queries the robot in confusion as to his purpose. Otto responds by playing a previous video to provide context and revealing that he has a directive to prevent humans from returning to Earth. It turns out that the former Axiom leader predicted that the Earth would no longer be able to support life 7 centuries ago. So they stopped sending machines to remove the planet's piling waste and gave up on its cleanup program. In Otto's program, the previous leader also set up an override directive that tells the cyborg to thwart any attempts to return to Earth. When the video cuts out, McCrea tells Otto that the instruction is no longer relevant because the seedling represents how life is now sustained on Earth. The cyborg dismisses him, though, and instructs Gofor, one of his goons, to take the plant away from the captain. The plant was quickly thrown into a trash chute by the henchmen as Eve, and the captain gasped in horror. Fortunately, their fright is only momentary because Wall-E exits the chute carrying the found seedling. When Wall-E attempts to place the plant in his cabinet, Otto immediately attacks and electrocutes him, sending him flying down the trash chute. Eve tries to step in, but the rogue cyborg forcibly silences her and throws her into the chute as well. The pair lands in a landfill and is sucked into an air chamber with the waste. The couple is almost sucked into space when the chamber's doors suddenly open. Fortunately, they are saved by a cleaning robot who had been following wall footprints E's in the dirt. When Eve and Wall-E reunite, she quickly learns that he is severely damaged and requires a new circuit board. She looks around the landfill for a replacement, but comes up empty-handed. Wall-E eventually draws her attention and informs her that he has numerous backup parts in his Earth shelter. After learning this, Eve is inspired to use the seedling to guide the Axiom back to its starting point and save Wall-E. They both return to the common area after she flies him out of the garbage can. The moment the police dogs start chasing and cornering them, they encounter resistance. Fortunately, the malfunctioning cyborgs Wall-E released from the diagnostic facility helped them. By working together, the machines are able to defeat the rebellious bots. Otto seizes McCrea and locks him up in his room at the opposite end of the ship. After some time of lying helpless, the captain devises an escape strategy. He deceives the cyborg into believing he is in possession of the plant using a screen. Otto enters his room to investigate, but McCrea pounces on him and quickly escapes. After some time of fighting, the robot finally knocks him off balance. Once free, Otto tilts the ship and closes the holodetector, causing all the humans to scuttle across the floor. Wall-E notices the holodetector closing and uses himself as a wedge to prevent it from closing completely. Sadly, the machine's weight crushes him and disintegrates many of his components. McCrea immediately stands up and attacks Otto as he manually disables the rogue cyborg for good. The plant is quickly placed in the holodetector by Eve, who seizes the chance to send the ship back to Earth. When they arrive on the planet, Walpet E's roach greets them, and Eve immediately rushes the seriously injured bot to his shelter. She quickly scours his shelves for the necessary components, finds them, and fixes him right away. As he stares blankly at Eve, Wall-E regains consciousness, but sadly also loses his personality and memories. She makes every effort to restore his memories, but she is ineffective. She is so distraught that she butts heads with him while holding his hand, starting a spark. They gently butt heads once more as this action juggles Wall memories, E's restoring his personality. The humans finally leave the ship in the final scene, and they plant the seedling in fresh ground. Months later, as the Earth gradually resumes its fertile and life-sustaining state, the plant multiplies and new vegetation begins to grow. Turn on notifications, leave a like to support the channel, and subscribe to see more videos like this one. Watch our upcoming next videos if you haven't already. Thank you for visiting.